is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break.
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, Season 16, Episode number 99. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are presented by Geico, and for second week in a row, we got our whole crew here. So getting used to this. Hopefully the show this week is as good as it was last week, because it was a really, really good show. It was good to have everybody in studio. Today we're going to continue our defensive review. We talked about the defensive line last week, and this week we're going to dive into probably the most interesting position on the Cowboys right now with the linebackers. And we got a lot of questions we got to talk about, a lot of things we got to try to fix for this team. Hopefully this is a show where Jerry and Steven and Will are listening in, because my expectation is that you guys are going to give them lots of great advice on how they need to handle this position. And it will
hopefully not, because I don't have much good to say about it.
Oh, that's why they need to be listening.
That's why they need to be listening. We want them to hear what you guys have to say about this linebacker crew, right?
I'm just laughing thinking about my relationship with Will McClay and how heavily he probably weighs my opinion.
I actually love the relationship you and Will have. It's kind of it's like if you don't know the two of you guys, you would think Will hates you. But I know because of Will and how he is, I'm like, Will likes you. Like, he wouldn't take time to rib you the way he does if he didn't like you.
I tell myself that to make myself feel better, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's true.
All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about the linebacker position. Later in the show, we are going to take some questions. So if you have questions, you can hit us up. Just tag at Cowboys Break on Twitter. Amber can get those, but I think Amber has some questions already.
Couldn't we start getting calls now that we're back in studio?
Oh, yeah, we absolutely can. You know what? Let's talk to the producer in the break, Chris Beam, and see.
Break.
Yeah. Why you say like that?
That's just funny. That's like next week or whatever. Like,
No,
in the break.
Let's see if we can actually get phone calls, and if we can, we will literally take a phone call here in the final segment of the show today.
That's like saying, at the pit stop, let's see if we can fix this, this, and this.
Yeah, no,
right.
We got a break. In our break, it's 3 minutes. We can figure it out. All right, let's talk about the linebacker position. I want to start with a big question about this position, and I think, honestly, it is the big question of the Cowboys from a standpoint of the linebacker position. What is the bigger problem at the linebacker position for the Cowboys? Is it Jaylen's play, or is it Leighton's inability to play or be available to play? Let's start with you, Nick.
Well, they're both the same. They're both. They both have the same problem, or they both have the same result. It's not the same problem, the same result, in that they're unreliable. So it's all it still sounds the same to me, because Leighton, yeah, he's a good player when he's healthy, but he's not always healthy. It's the same as Sean Lee, really, and you just don't know what you're going to get with Jaylen Smith. He's not playing at the level and that's the price tag that they put on him. So I'll say it's the same, because I think they're both kind of unreliable, but I have more confidence that Leighton can stay healthy.
Which I think that's really what I'm trying to get at is like which one is a bigger problem because you can't fix it, is essentially where I'm going with that.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I'll say Leighton.
All right, Amber.
I get Nick's logic there, but to me, I think it would be Jaylen, because I've been more excited about Leighton at times. He's shown, especially in his rookie year, and it's unfortunate that he's been dealing with these injuries. And every year, well, at least last year, he came back talking as if that wasn't going to be a problem again. And it wasn't necessarily the neck itself, but it's still an injury in itself. But at the end of the day, how do you fix someone that isn't just performing well at all without an injury on the field. So that's my issue with Jaylen. And it wasn't something that it was just last year. To me, I wasn't a fan of what he was doing prior to that year. And I was very surprised at the contract that they gave him. So I feel that you're not really going to get much more out of him. You know, it's just hard to envision him becoming any better. And I know with Dan Quinn, there's a lot of hope and talks about him having the ability to develop guys and all that. But I don't see it happening. I'm not a huge fan of what I've seen of Jaylen Smith, and I'm trying to not talk so bad or anything, to just be very political and all that. But
that didn't work
it's
for you,
just
AG.
Say,
that's not
since
AG.
when?
Dave, take it over. Take it over.
I mean, it's Jaylen Smith. I think we all know that. Maybe it's an uncomfortable thing to admit because he's the one of the few faces of this defense. The team identified him as a cornerstone piece. They paid him like it. I mean, it was a discount compared to the top of the market, but he's still a $70 million player, and he did not play like it. And honestly, it's way more concerning because I was trying to pull up the snap count. I don't have it in front of me, but I know Jaylen Smith played a ton of snaps. He wasn't hurt. He didn't miss any games. He wasn't limited. He was out there all the time, and we got to see the good and mostly the bad of that. And yeah, you can bring up Dan Quinn. They're going back to a scheme that they've played before, but Jaylen played in that scheme in 2019, and he didn't look awesome either. And that's, I have concerns that, I'm not a doctor, but he doesn't look as explosive or as fast to me as he used to. He did not make plays in 2020 that he could have made in 2018. Like, we've brought up the Deshaun Watson play a million times. It's a very perfect example of the type of play he was capable of making at one time that we didn't see him make last year at all, or at least not often enough. It seems like he doesn't change direction very well. It seems like teams know that they can exploit that. And that's a problem if you're the centerpiece of a linebacker core. Yeah. And so, and it's, it's also alarming because what are you going to do? I mean, you probably can't trade him because, Jaylen said turn on the tape, and other teams can do that too. And that's probably not going to go great for you. And if you cut him, you're going to incur a cost. Like, it's going to hurt your bottom line to get rid of him. And I mean, there's ways you can always get rid of somebody if you absolutely want to do it. But it's,
as we've seen in the league this year.
I think it's just getting started, to be honest with you, because the salary cap is a problem for people. So you can always do it, but you got to pay your quarterback. You got to make all this stuff work. You got to come in under the cap, and you need to add players to a bad team, not get rid of them. And so that's a puzzle that they've got to figure out, and I don't think there's a great answer to it because I don't have a lot of confidence that Jaylen's going to get better. And of course, we can always be wrong, but that's just my opinion. I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to get better, and I don't know how they get out from under his contract. I think they can do it. They can do it pretty easily next year, but you got to carry him for another year before you can do that.
Yep.
I think that, there's talk of this it's not a new defense, it's the same scheme, but he might have a new position. But what that's going to do is that will just devalue what he is. I mean, if they move him to the strong side that's been talked about, he'll play 30% of the snaps, maybe some on nickel. That's not going to justify his contract. And that's only going to make it worse when you're looking at how much you're paying a guy and how, and so there's, like Dave said, there's just not a great answer. You can try to protect him and try to protect yourself, but that doesn't help you unless he's willing to take a pay cut, and I have this feeling he's not.
Well, the one thing that does interest me a little bit here is in 2018, which I think we all agree was the best of what we've seen from Jaylen, he still had those same issues of change of direction. Like, the things that you talk about him now, those things were present in 2018. Mm-hmm. The difference was, for whatever reason, they didn't show up as much because there were plays he made. Yeah. Maybe it was because of the role that they asked him to play. He was able to maybe hide some of those deficiencies and do things he was better at doing, which is straight line running, get him to the ball and make a play. So it makes me wonder if you take it from that standpoint, and Nick, you'll remember this back when Parcells came in. At the time, everybody was saying Flozell Adams needs to go. Like, he needs to go. Parcells, first thing he said when he got here is you got to resign Flozell. You got to sign Flozell Adams.
Everybody was like,
and what we found out was after they signed him, he became a really, really and by the way, he was probably a good tackle before that. But I do believe that some coaches just have a way with certain players of being able to bring the best out of them. And so the one thing that I'll go back to is, again, if we talk about 2018 and we all agree that was his best year, and we all agree that some of the deficiencies we've seen over the last 2 years were still there back in 2018, but he was playing at a different level, it does make me wonder, can a guy like Dan Quinn come in here and say, I have a vision for this player that will take into account all the things he doesn't do well, take into account the things he does do well, and put him in those positions more frequently. And if they can get that kind of value out of Jaylen Smith, that's his way to be valuable to this team. And that's, I think, the hope. Obviously, we don't know if that's what's going to happen, but to me, that is the hope of what you can expect from Jaylen Smith.
Translation from the people on Twitter: Derek compares Dan Quinn to Parcells.
No, stop it. Stop it.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Stop it.
Well, hopefully that's, and it's not just the coach; it's the scheme. It's the scheme that fits. We'll see.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and that is, that has to be the hope. Jalen's salary becomes guaranteed on the 5th day of the league year, so if they're going to do something with him, it would have to be really soon, and I don't really expect that to happen. And I think, I think the Cowboys, Jerry and Stephen Jones love Jaylen Smith. I don't think they want him to go anywhere, and I think they'd rather try to fix him, and that's what we'll see, I would guess. I am curious. People talk a lot. I brought this up when Dan Quinn got hired. He's famous for this Leo thing, which is just a weak side pass rusher. It's the most overblown. It's not special. You're just a designated pass rushing linebacker on the weak side, basically. Bruce Irvin did it for him in Seattle. Vic Beasley's done it before. So, and I'm, Jalen's got straight line speed. He can do stuff like that. Maybe you use him more in that role. Try to add him, get some pass rush out of him. Mm-hmm. Don't ask too much of him in coverage. I don't know though, and I hope Dan Quinn can help reclaim him a little bit. If he's gonna play off ball linebacker, some of the things you see on tape just make you dubious that it's ever gonna be amazing. Yeah. But the other thing too is Dan Quinn's been here since January 10th or 12th, and I haven't talked to him. Have y'all? I don't know anything about what he wants to do with this defense, so that's a little bit annoying, but not much we can do about it right now.
Hopefully that changes here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, no, it would be cool. It would be cool to know what the defensive coordinator wants from his defense and who he might want to try to draft, all that type of stuff.
Hold up. He also works for McCarthy, so even if he was talking to us once a day,
of course he's not going to. It doesn't mean he's going to say anything.
Good point. Or what he says actually is true.
We've
seen that too. No, that's. You can read between the lines.
Yeah, I was going to say even if they try to coach speak you can always parse something out of it.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing at all.
Going back to Jaylen Smith, here's how I see it. As guys were talking about it, and me remembering what it was like a couple of years ago, and how I saw him as a player, which was he had the talent, he had the explosiveness in him, but my problem with him back then was that his moves were always too jerky. He was indecisive, and that led me to think, well, he just needs to work on his instinct, and that's only going to come with time and experience on the field. So there was still hope there, and you saw the speed. But now it's to the point where you're a couple of years in, and you don't see the speed anymore. He's slowed down, his movements and the way he reacts. Sometimes there's confusion. He's like, where should I go? And it's to me, and I don't want to criticize him too much because I'm not in his brain or his head to really know.
Too late.
But but the way I see it is he lacks focus. And I'm not trying to compare him to Sean Lee, but you look at Sean Lee, a player like him, he's a freaking focused guy. He's in the game. He's going to know. He knows as soon as the play starts, he basically knows where the play is going to go. Jaylen, not so much. He's always, if you look at all his plays, especially from last year, there's always a lack of hesitation and confusion that slows him down a few seconds. So that makes him behind on the play. And it just those few seconds are super important in a game where the speed is so necessary and it just goes by so fast. So to me, I don't know how as a coach you really teach that. the speed and the concentration and knowing, okay, where's this play gonna go, and learning that. I don't know how coachable that really is.
Honestly, I don't know that I would call it focus and concentration as much as I would call it preparedness, because I look at a guy like Sean Lee. And the reason why I think Sean Lee is Sean Lee, the Sean Lee that we know, is because the amount of time, or at least what we're always told about Sean Lee, is the amount of time he spends really preparing for a game. I'm talking sitting and watching and watching and watching and watching film of his opponent to be able to diagnose things that he sees on film once he's in the game and quickly be able to react to them. If you're not seeing that from Jaylen, my question would be, and I don't know this because I'm not with Jaylen, but is he preparing in the same way that a Sean Lee prepares? Is that the issue more than focus and concentration? Is it an issue of him just not maybe preparing as much? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Hard to.
Yeah.
The other thing too, and I agree with you, and it just seems like he guesses a lot, and like that could be preparedness. I also wonder if it's compensation for, like, okay, if I wait to react, I'm going to be late. So I just got to go, and hopefully I'm right. And you're not going to be right all the time.
Because he's a smart guy. We know this.
Yeah.
The guy went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get into Notre Dame. Even if you're playing football, you don't get into Notre Dame if you're dumb. The guy's smart.
Yeah.
So it's not a comprehension issue, in my opinion.
No.
Which, again, leads me back to at least questioning if it's a preparedness problem. All right, so here's the next question I have for you guys. Do you think the Cowboys should be looking at Leighton Vander Esch as a situation where they think they can expect different, better results than what they've gotten so far from the standpoint of his health? Or do they need to, and maybe abandon is a strong word, but do they need to start looking in another direction for a more reliable linebacker? Let's start first with you, Dave.
I've written about this, and it's really tough. I think have I done the Schrodinger's cat analogy on here before?
I love that you bring that up because that's one of my favorite books in the world. But go ahead.
I mean, I'm not smart enough to get into that, but Schrodinger's cat's basically an experiment where, you release a vial of poison into a box with a cat, and you don't know whether or not it happened until you open it, so the cat is simultaneously alive and dead, right? I know.
It's like different planes.
Just bear
with
with me here.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Cowboys simultaneously have two good starting linebackers and nothing at all. Like right now, they do.
It's a great analogy.
They're like, well, we got Leighton Vander Esch and Jaylen Smith, or like, holy crap, we need
Jaylen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. Yeah.
And there's a subplot here. There's a subplot here too. I'm just gonna keep going.
You can add a third.
Oh, Sean? Well, I mean,
same thing.
It's true, but I love Sean Lee. Great guy, but I don't view him on the same level just because at this point in his career, you're not asking for 1,000 snaps from him. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, you're right. Like as of right now, you're like, oh, we got Sean Lee back for one more year, or oh, Sean Lee is going to retire and probably be our linebackers coach in 2 years. Cool. Either way, and there's a subplot here where. You got to decide on Leighton's fifth-year option in May. That's probably something like $10 million to a guy that's missed almost a full season over the last 2 years. I mean, that's a dicey proposition. So, and if you don't do that, he's a free agent this time next year. And we just outlined everything that's wrong with Jaylen. So, what do? I don't necessarily know that there's a great answer. I think I would probably pick up Leighton's contract and hope that going back to a scheme that he has excelled in, having an experienced defensive coordinator, and the injuries last year, they don't freak me out too much. I mean, broken collarbone, that's not that's
a freak injury.
That's a freak injury. Everybody rolls their ankle from time to time. Like Leighton would have played in the playoffs had they made it. So it's not like this debilitating thing. So that's not the same to me as the neck injury. So I'd probably pick up his option and not feel great about it. But I feel a lot better than being like, well, I'm a year away from having no linebackers.
Yeah.
And I would try to draft one somewhat highly. Doesn't have to be pick 10, but one of the first of those 4 picks, 2 third-rounders, first and second, I would try to spend one of them on a linebacker for sure.
Is there's only one option to pick at 10, right?
Maybe 2, but Micah Parsons.
And it sounds like from what I've heard, like none of you guys love the idea of Parsons at 10.
Well,
hold on. This is somebody that doesn't study it like them.
Yeah.
I'm just studying it off YouTube like everyone else.
Yeah.
It doesn't show his bad plays.
Right. You're in?
Yes.
Like I'm in.
But that's all I see.
Yeah.
And I haven't read all the stories. I know there's been a lot of talk. He's off the field. He's been in lawsuits and stuff like that.
He's got some maturity issues. He can get after. He's athletic as hell, and he can get after the quarterback for sure.
But if he's got maturity issues, do you think bringing him into that room is a good idea?
Great question.
Is Sean Lee in it or not?
Let's assume he's not.
Question.
Let's assume he's not. Is that a great idea?
What if he's teaching it? No, I'm just kidding.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I
just
took you off.
No, that guy though. Just watching his tape, and I understand Purdue and Minnesota aren't the end all be all when it comes to blocking. I get it. He's making plays, but he makes the plays that you wish Jaylen Smith would make. You know, it's college, but I mean, it's just he's unblockable. But I don't know if I would do it at 10. But what about the class from as far as second, third round?
Oh yeah, there's definitely value there. I don't think they would pick him at 10, but I love another Notre Dame guy by the name of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Say that 3 times real fast.
He's a jackknife. He's a linebacker, safety, slot corner, a little bit of everything.
Ooh.
I don't think they would draft him at 10.
Like that Clemson
Did you say
guy?
linebacker?
Yes.
Safety,
Yes.
slot corner. You know who that sounds like? Somebody that's sitting on Nick's wall.
Oh yeah, Darren Woodson.
Like there are a lot of guys that fit that description: linebacker, safety, slot corner. Holy crap!
You wouldn't line him up in the slot and play him against CeeDee Lamb.
But if he has the ability, that just tells you a lot about his athleticism, right?
He's impressive. I don't think I'm
Does
sad.
he have a nickname?
Joke.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's roll with that
because that's what it would be.
Let's roll with that.
Or JOK, whatever.
Okay.
I'm sad because
are you the only one that loves him like that, or
no?
are
A lot
other
of
guys loving
people
him like
love
that
him. A lot of people love him, but I don't know that he would be a top 10 pick.
They're trying to sneak him at 44.
No way.
Is he one of those guys that if you trade down, like that's a great pick at 16, 17, 18?
Yes.
I'm starting to. Dave and I talked about this yesterday. I'm starting to like that idea. If it's
down.
there, if it's a trade down. I mean,
If you can get a good price for it, there's going to be a good player there for you. You know, at 15, 16, 17, if you can add a second or third round pick, I
think I would do that
I'd
too.
be ecstatic.
Unless you're in a CeeDee Lamb situation where somebody you thought was gone at 4 or 5 is not gone. The Oregon guy?
Yeah, if he gets to you at 10, I don't know if you pass that up because he's considered to be a much better prospect than the 10th pick in the draft, right?
To go back to the Parsons thing, that just goes into a debate about, what's the value of a linebacker? Same thing as running back, right? Yeah. Is like, if you can find these guys, and there's a million other guys. Jabril Cox, who is an LSU guy, but he's outstanding. I love him. Of course he is. I know. I hate to even bring it up. But it's true. There's a bunch of other guys. Yeah. Dylan Moses out of Alabama. Like, there's a bunch that you could find later on. And so that's the point is like, really, If all he does is tackle and kind of cover, are we really going to draft him in the top 10 when a cornerback who can lock down the right side of our field is there for the next? We got the right side of our field taken care of for 5 years. If we draft Patrick Surtain, are we really going to draft a line? That's the logic.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't think it would happen.
It's harder to find those guys
for sure.
All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about LV and that 5th-year option. We'll also get into some other conversations, go a little deeper into the linebacker position and some of the players that are going to be free agents this year. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Back to the break.
The richest weekend in Western sports returns to AT&T Stadium for its 8th year. Don't miss the finals of the American Rodeo on March 6th and 7th. Tickets are on sale now. Get yours before they sell out at SeatGeek.com. That's this weekend, March 6th and 7th. Let me read that again. The richest weekend in Western sports returns to AT&T Stadium.
Okay.
It's called the American.
Is that's the PB that's
the rodeo.
Like the rodeo kind of okay.
One time for the rodeo.
Okay. All right. I'm ready. I'm so ready for next week for March Madness. This is going to be fun this year. I cannot wait for March Madness this year.
Wow.
Let's go.
Did not even.
You didn't realize we're there?
No.
It's March.
Y'all don't have a team.
Actually, LSU's like pretty decent. I mean, Arkansas beat them bad the other day.
Is someone going to take over Brian's role of printing out the brackets? And
Nick does that.
No, don't do that.
You don't do
I haven't done that in a long time.
Can you not do it this year?
Yeah. I don't do that at all. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying we put money on it. I'm just saying we do it for fun.
No, just for fun.
Yeah, we do it for
Which
fun.
is funny because Brian would ask me, who'd you going for, AG? And I'm like, let me see. Which name sounds better? Because, of course, I don't know any single team.
When it comes down to stories, though, for Broadus, I mean, everybody's got about 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites of all time was the year we did
the Dayton story.
I'm not going to say it all. I'm not going to
story.
say it all. And just the fact.
Well, you can't bring it up if you don't tell the whole story.
I'm not gonna say the whole story, but it's just the simple fact of I'm not doing that stupid stuff. You guys can do that if you want. I'm not doing that. It's a tournament, Brian. He's like, nah, it's okay. He's like, give me a sheet. Give me a sheet. Fine, I'll do it. Whatever. First game, we go eat. First game, Ohio State is playing Dayton, and he picks Dayton because he probably picked him in '87. And anyway, and then they lose to Ohio State, and I mean he was going off on them.
You would have thought somebody kicked his dog.
That is so Brian.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
He didn't care at first, but now that he's in, he's all in. He's all in.
Yeah. He was wishing bad things on them. It was.
Oh gosh. Yeah, don't tell the whole story. Don't tell the whole story.
Yeah, that's March. It's madness. Really that's what happens. Yeah.
All right, let's jump back in. Let's talk some more about this defensive review. We're talking about the linebacker position. AG, I wanted to get your opinion on this 5th-year option on Leighton Vander Esch. If you had to make the decision right now, do you take a 5th-year option on him, or do you just accept the fact that he's going to be a free agent next year?
I think I would. I would trust the medical staff and see what their analysis on him is, and if they feel confident that he is healthy. And the way he always speaks about it, and we know, listening to him, how committed he is, and he's a hardworking guy, and he's going to go back in there and grind and try to get better and all that. And his issue obviously has been the health and the injury stuff. But like Dave mentioned, none of these injuries seem to be major, and I don't believe the whole neck thing popped back up last year that we heard. So at least I would expect him to be okay, and I would just go for it. I mean, it sucked to waste that and kind of see him go away that soon after you drafted him in the first round and you spend that money on him, or that pick on him, and not really get that the return that you were wanting and expecting. So I would go for it, but at the same time, I definitely think they need to add more talent there, and they would know. And like he talked about the draft and all that, that's not my area of expertise. But whether it's the draft or a veteran guy that can come in, and if they take over Jaylen's role, I mean, Jaylen can watch from the bench. I know he's getting a lot of money, but he can watch from over there, get upset, and then maybe next time he comes in on a rotation or something, he can perform better.
I want AG on the coaching staff so bad.
You know, it's funny. Just the last segment, she was like, I'm going to try to be politically correct.
Sorry.
This segment is like, oh, put him on the bench. He can watch from the bench. It's a good view over there.
The harsh truth is that, like, politics are a big part of it.
Yeah,
and, you know, this is a meritocracy. Like, no, okay, whatever. Like, politics are a big part of it. But having AG on the sideline just be like, if you want to go in, make a play next time. And, like, because you're like, nobody on the coaching staff is saying that to these guys, and at least not on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Nick, would you take the 5th-year option?
No, I'm not giving him a 5th-year option because I think, and if I can do this, I think I'm signing him to a long-term deal. Let's try to wipe out that 5th-year option. Yeah,
You going all in? Like, go ahead and give him a long-term.
She said
How much you think you got to pay him big money right now?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I think you can get. I think they're at this crossroads where it's like, you know what? Help us, help you, Jerry Maguire. But that's kind of what it is. I mean, it'll be one of those situations of let's don't have to worry about this. Let's don't put all this on your 4th or 5th year and all. We know you can play. I like what she said about, you know, we know he's going to work hard. He's going to grind. He's going to do what it takes. He's going to study. He's going to be there. And it's the same with Sean Lee. Sean Lee didn't ever want to get hurt. You know, he did everything he could not to get hurt and all that. But sometimes stuff like that just happened. He's still. I don't think you change the story at all. I mean, I think you'd keep Sean Lee. He was good for you. He wasn't as great because of injuries. I think the same for Leighton. I'm going to start that clock. I'm going to try to get a 4 or 5 year deal and try to spread it out a little bit.
I will say this, and I doubt the timing of this is a coincidence, but the option deadline is always a week or two after the draft, which that's probably to allow teams to see how they can improve their roster before they have to make that decision. So you could hold off, and if you come out of the draft with a badass,
if you use that 10th pick, then maybe you say that's definitely.
Even if you get, I pulled up, I was blanking on the names. Dylan Moses, Chaz Surratt out of North Carolina is a guy that I like a lot. Baron Browning out of Ohio State, my LSU guy Cox. I mean, if you get a guy with one of these big picks, you can say, all right, Leighton, we'll
see what happens.
Not going to pick it up, and maybe we'll have to eat our words if you have a great year. But
and maybe if he does, maybe they're willing to sign him to that long-term deal at that point. Although it'll be market price, maybe they're willing to do that.
You could franchise tag him if you ever get something done with that.
Or by the way, at that point, as you said earlier, at that point, Jaylen's deal is you can depart from that, and maybe you decide we depart from the Jaylen deal and we do a long-term deal with Leighton. Like there are options that you have basically if you just punt for a year, if you get that guy in the draft or in free agency, right?
Yeah, I think this year the best way to go would probably be 3rd or 4th round on a linebacker. Hope that you get an Anthony Hitchens. Hope you get a Damian Wilson. Wilson didn't develop as quickly as Hitchens, but somebody like that. That North Carolina guy intrigues me a little bit. I get more intrigued a little bit with the players that I know don't have the badasses up front. The Alabama linebackers, I mean, it's hit and miss some with them because you know that they're getting to play pretty clean football. But who's holding down the fort at North Carolina?
Good point.
Now LSU, they've got 2 or 3 of the best linebackers in the league right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you're not wrong.
But you got to be careful with that. Just like we don't say, don't dismiss the Michigan defensive end because Taco didn't pan out, and don't compare Notre Dame linebackers. So it's not good to do that either way. But I just know sometimes schemes like this scheme is translating to the NFL, and I know these fast linebackers that are coming out of LSU,
and they are balling. Like they got some guys in the league right now. You look at it and you're like, if I can get that, give me that. I'll take that.
I don't think Jabril Cox is Devin White, but he's a pretty good player.
Well, way to bring us back to earth on that one. Because I was starting to say, let's go get.
Well, it doesn't sound like the league thinks so either. Because they 2nd or 3rd round, but I think
he's. I mean, we don't have to get it. This is not the Jabril Cox hour, but he was an All-American at North Dakota State. Won like 3 national titles, started from the get, and he was like, I want to see, like, can I do this at the next level? Transferred to LSU and was the only good player on an
want that guy.
otherwise atrocious defense.
I want that guy.
That means he's still developing.
I like I
better.
like everything about that story.
Yeah, me too.
He was literally like, I've done everything I can do at this level. Let's see how I handle the SEC. And LSU was terrible last year, but he played great.
I like him. Yep.
Yeah, I like that story too. All right, here's the next question I got for you guys. Is linebacker a position where Dallas needs, and I'm going to stress the word needs, to draft early or invest a quality veteran starter from free agency? Let's start first with you, Amber.
That's a tough question, just because, I mean, and we've talked about it in previous weeks, just how many needs the Cowboys actually have, especially on defense. So if you find a guy that you really have a high evaluation on, I would say go for it. It's not going to hurt you. I know we just talked about those two veteran guys, Jaylen and Leighton and all that, but at the same time, I just go back to watching plays from last year. And it's just like, that's a really important position on the field. Like, you need some help at linebacker. That's a spot where you can see how much better the Cowboys could have been had they had productive plays from their linebacker group. So, to me, I do see the position as a very high need. But then again, depending on the talent and what positions, I wouldn't be opposed to, okay, whether it's a cornerback or a safety or a defensive lineman, I wouldn't get mad at it either if you got someone that's a lot more talented than a linebacker. But at the same time, I do see the position at a very high need right now.
All right, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a definite need because of kind of what we said when we started the show. Do you have guys or do you have nothing? You know, that wide receiver, you know you've got players. You know that. You know what you've got at other positions, too. Linebacker's one where it could be good, but it could be nothing. So, I think, but you need to, this year, because of those question marks, I think you draft in the, what's early, second or third round? I'm getting one on the first 2 days. I think I have to have a linebacker by Friday night. For the first 3 rounds, and that's 4 picks, though, right? Maybe we don't know yet. The compensatory,
more than likely,
it could be. And then if you trade back or something like that, and in the first round, I just think you have to get a linebacker to add some depth. I mean, let's not forget. I know it's down the list, but let's not forget that Joe Thomas and Justin March are also unrestricted free agents. They may not come back this year, so. If anything, you need that 4th linebacker for some depth purposes. So I'm drafting a guy relatively early that's ready to play.
Dave.
This conversation kind of makes me mad because, like, we're like good cop, bad cop. We're the bad cops because, like, we know, every year, and I understand it. Fans want the team to, like, spend in free agency. And we wind up like, they're not going to do that. Stop wasting your breath. And I don't like saying that. I want, think about all the content we could create about the 5 linebackers that could make the biggest splash for the Cowboys. Like, that would be great.
We're not going to do that?
I mean, why? Why would we? Why should we?
Because it's fun.
They're not going to do it.
Tampering.
No, they're not free agents.
Tampering if they're free agents.
When would we do it?
Now.
They're not.
Actually, it might be tampering right now.
Are they
like
on a
they
roster?
are technically under contract.
We'll be all right. Oh,
the point being,
all right.
Every year I feel like a jerk for poo-pooing on everybody's free agent dreams.
Yeah.
But that's, what's the, Levante David? I'd love to have him on this team. The Cowboys going to pay $13 million a year for him? No. KJ Wright?
I would.
Of course you would. He's a great player. KJ Wright, you could probably even get him for cheaper.
You can get him for cheaper, I think.
But
much cheaper.
Is it cheap enough? And that's the point. Like, the Cowboys typically scrape the bottom of the barrel. Like,
is he not your Gerald McCoy kind of guy where you could get him in that kind of deal?
Maybe. Did you think J.J. Watt was going to get $16 million a year?
Yeah.
You did?
I actually did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
because J.J. Watt's still J.J. Watt. There's the brand, and you pay for the brand at this point in a guy's career who's going to the Hall of Fame.
My point is, maybe, but KJ, all it takes is somebody with a little more money to be like, hey, KJ, we'll pay you $8 million a year, and all of a sudden the Cowboys are out.
True.
Like, that's how that goes. And so it's hard for me to get excited about this because Wright and David are the big ones. But there are some other guys that are available that could improve this team. I just don't think the Cowboys will sign them. So I'm with y'all. I think they need to draft one by Friday night.
The draft.
Yeah, I mean that's rounds 1 through 3. One of those, you're probably going to have 4 picks around the top 100. I think one of them should be.
Yeah, I mean that's not even a reach. I mean I think in your top 4 picks. I mean, I don't think the Cowboys should trade up at all this year. I really don't. No. I mean, if you can get 9, 10 picks, pick them all, because you're gonna need to hit on these guys. You need a 6th round pick to win on Anthony Brown, a guy like that. You need that player because Anthony Brown's still on your team. He's playing. He got a 2nd contract. I mean, you're not going to win on all of them. You could pick Rico Gathers. You could something like that. What I'm saying is though, don't be trading, your 10 picks to get 6 or 7. No, you need 10.
Yeah,
you need to hit on these, and that's why I love the idea of maybe trading back.
And fact of the matter is, if you look at the areas of the team and you put them in priority order of areas where you think they need help the most, there's no doubt in my mind that linebacker's in the top 4. So you're right. By the end of Friday night, unless you went out in free agency and you got yourself a guy, then by the end of Friday night, you absolutely need to have a guy that you drafted who is at the linebacker position.
Well, that 3-letter word that could change all of it and all of your
we're not talking about him today.
Just saying.
That
changes everything.
3-letter. I thought you said 3 words, and I was like, Dak deal. Like what?
Dak deal done.
What is it?
Dak
Dakota Rain or Rain Dakota? I always get that confused. Rain Dakota Prescott. So that's your 3 words. Yeah, but that's where it all starts and ends. I think for the Cowboys, as far as you want to start talking about the roster.
Yeah,
you're not.
Is this going to be our last show without him signed?
God, I hope so.
Possible.
You know something I don't?
No, but the deadline's coming up March.
Well, but that's not really the deadline. That's just
anything.
that's the tag. The real deadline is obviously what is it? July when they have to stop.
Yeah,
negotiating. You can't negotiate anymore.
I disagree. I disagree. You ain't gonna get. I almost cuss. You ain't gonna get anything done if he's sitting on your tag at 30. You can't even do that right now. Like right now, they couldn't do the tag. They have to maneuver some things around. No.
But I have no. I'll put it to you like this: if you want to give me if you start talking about percentage chance, I think there's personally, just again what I believe. I think there's probably a 20% chance they get a deal done before they have to tag him. I also think on the flip side of that, there's an 80-85% chance they get a deal done before they get to that deadline in the summer. So to me, I don't have much faith that in a week that this is going to get done. I just don't. And I know these things, they can move quickly. Once you get going, you can move quickly on them. I just don't have faith in that.
If that happens, then I don't see Jaylen Smith on the team. I don't. I know.
Okay, we're back to linebacker.
Well,
that's a hell of a way to bring it back.
It is.
Wait, if Dak gets tagged, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
because
see your
you
logic
have to
there.
June 1st these guys. You're going to have 2 guys you have to put as June 1st cuts. Get them off the roster now, and then by June 1st, that's when it'll hit the cap. So I mean, him and who else? Who's another June 1st possibility? Don't say 77.
No,
he's a possibility.
No,
it's possible.
No, it's not possible.
It is possible
because you ain't got no options. Like, what are you gonna do if you say we're gonna say bye to him? Like, what are you gonna do?
Northwestern tackle.
Look, they don't even have a backup tackle right now, let alone another starter. We saw how that went last year. That is not an option.
That's why I can't understand why they're not going to try to get this done. Both sides. Because if I'm Dak, I'm like, man, I want to have some players this year. I want to try to help. I mean, this year could be almost a wash if they have to play on $38 million. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they'll compete.
Good.
Sorry, to go back to what you mentioned about the cut, like on Jaylen. What happens with that money? Like, does it get distributed? As far as like you don't get that full hit right there.
When you June 1st a guy, you just spread the money that you're losing. It spreads out over 2 years. So if you cut him, I just had it pulled up.
You cut him now.
If you cut him today,
and it's just straight out cut.
It's like $24 million or something crazy like that.
It's a $9 million.
No, I'm sorry. I got Zeke and Jaylen confused. I'm writing
that's a big one.
I'm writing about. Oh yes, I'm writing about Zeke right now. So that's a huge hit. If you June 1st Jaylen, he would only hit your cap for $3 million this year and $7 million next year, and you would
which is
save.
very doable.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, that's very doable. Yeah.
If you want to, it's not hard to do it if you want to do it. It's just a matter of, again, how confident are they that he can be something for
But
them.
think about that. Like, I don't know that I can't come up with another name off the top of my head of a guy that I would say is another guy like Jaylen where it doesn't completely debilitate you to cut them, but you can cut them for enough that helps you be able to get Dak on the tag.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. There's not, but then that changes your, when we said got to get a guy in the first two nights of the draft, first 3 rounds, that changes things if you cut him. Now you're sitting here with Leighton Vander Esch, who was banged up last year, and then
you're also begging Sean, hey man, just in case, can you just hang out for a minute? Don't leave
You don't have
town
to beg
You don't have to
him. Are
beg
you kidding me?
I'm just saying, like, you got to convince him, like, don't leave town, just hang out for a minute.
You don't
Like,
have
we
to
may
beg
need
him.
you. We may need you.
He's probably on the West Coast because I know he goes there in the off season, and he's just give me a call.
Yeah,
I'll be back whenever.
Okay.
I'll meet you in Oxnard.
Yeah,
Good.
oh,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Perfect. I just want to have him on the line in case I need
But
him.
the other, we've seen this too, is if they have to, they can restructure so many of these deals.
That is true.
And
That is true.
I know not everybody loves that, but that's the world you're living in right now until they figure something out.
All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we got a couple more questions on linebacker. We're going to try to get to a phone call because Chris tells us that we can make a phone call. Now, I'm going to see if I can remember this phone number. I think it is 1-888-855-2297. Is that correct, Chris? He's not listening. All right, 888-855-2297. We will try to get at least one call from someone who has been sitting on the line since last year this time, and hopefully we can answer the question. The questions may be the same because there were a lot of the same questions that we're still dealing with right now. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay? Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Back to the break.
You can tour AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys. You can run on the field, see the locker rooms, so much more. Tours are available daily. For details, visit attstadium.com/tours.
Welcome back. Final segment of the show. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Geico, and we're talking about linebackers. We do have a phone caller on the line. We're going to get to him in just a second. I did have a couple questions real quick that I wanted to hit about linebacker, and we don't have to go too far in depth, but the first question is, if you could only re-sign one of these guys, who would you re-sign, Joe Thomas or Justin March? Dave, let's start with you.
Joe Thomas, I like Justin March a lot, but Joe has started and can start and does a decent job when he's asked to do so, and he's also just as valuable to the special teams. He's also,
very valuable special teams. Yeah.
I don't know how old he is, but he's not he's probably closer to the end of his career than the beginning, so I assume he wouldn't be that expensive. So,
right. Amber.
I agree. And simply because of he has implanted more in my memory than Justin.
Yeah.
So Joe Thomas, I mean, he's a guy that I can easily remember more, that he's done more for the team. So, yeah, like they've said, if it's a good deal, affordable, why not?
Same. I mean, he can play and he can start. And with those guys in the front, you have to have that. That fourth linebacker has to have starting experience. So, and plus he's a big time hitter. He really does. I mean, he brings the wood on. So I like having him out there. And so, Thomas all the way.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Is to me, he's a starter. He's a starter that you get as a backup. So I think from that standpoint, I would love for them to re-sign him. Final question. What have you seen or heard regarding the development of the two younger linebackers that we've talked a little bit on this show? They didn't play a ton last year, but they did play some. You got Luke Gifford and you got Francis Bernard. Nick, let's start with you.
I think Bernard's issue is going to be speed. I just don't think he's got the speed. But he makes some plays. He made some. He's a guy I'd love to see in the preseason. I would love preseason games for him. I think he will be a guy that he might just be a gamer. Didn't do a whole lot in the games where he played. Some on special teams, but I think he's a guy that could really develop in the preseason, and then I'll let them talk about Gifford if they know stuff. But I'll just take him. I think Bernard's a guy that we saw some good things. I'd like to see him play more.
Amber.
Well, Luke Gifford, he's a guy that 2 years ago, I know a lot of people talked about him.
I was your pet cat.
Yeah, I loved him. He has a perfect linebacker mold that fits Sean Lee and Leighton and Jaylen type of body. So he just looked right in the group. As far as that, the injuries, I forgot what kind of injuries he had. It was like leg issues or something.
Suspension, too.
So,
he had a suspension.
Yeah, so that affected him, and it's just unfortunate. Even last year, I think he was injured during training camp a bit. Was he not? Because I remember he wasn't on the field that much. I forgot for whatever reason. But the point is, we haven't seen much from him, and it's unfortunate. And then with Bernard, he's a guy that last year caught a lot of people's attention as well. He doesn't necessarily have that mold of the linebacker and the body and the height and the bulky body, but he's a guy that, although his size, he was still making plays on the field, and it wasn't because of his hair that you were noticing him on the field. He was out there doing stuff, so I was excited about him as well. But then again, once the season got started, we didn't really get a chance to see much of them, and then whenever we did, it wasn't necessarily anything impressive. So I think it's more of, like Nick said, preseason. Hopefully we get to see some of that, and then just them giving them more opportunities, which that's the only way we're really going to get to see how they perform on the field. I just don't think they've had enough chances for us to really get a good evaluation on our end. I'm sure they do have better evaluation, but from us watching from the outside, it's just kind of hard to tell right now.
Francis Bernard actually played in 13 games last year. I
mostly special teams.
Yeah. But I would have guessed like 8 maybe. So, I just, it's like a pipeline. I look at it as, we just talked about March and Thomas. You probably bring one of those guys back, and you probably don't bring the other one. And it doesn't really matter to me that much at the end of the day. Which I prefer Joe Thomas, but if they prefer Justin, that's fine. But you're not going to re-sign every bit player to a second contract, and that's what Gifford and Francis Bernard are here for. They're going to step in and be your special teams gadget guy who could maybe step in and is maybe a developmental player. If they go on to, if they catch somebody's eye and the coaches, Dan Quinn's like, holy crap, like we got something here. That's awesome. And that happens sometimes, but you can't count on it. And I'm not going to let either of these guys stop me from drafting a linebacker highly, because that's where you find those guys. And bring these guys to training camp. They'll have a role on special teams. They can round out your depth chart, and if you get anything more from them, that's great. But I don't put super high expectations on guys like that.
All right, for the first time in a year, we're about to go to the phone lines. We got a phone call from a fan who has a question for the crew. Steve from Virginia. Steve, what up?
Wow, I'm the first caller. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
Yeah. Glad to have you back.
Good to hear from you.
Glad to have you back.
Let's make it a good one.
Right, a lot of pressure.
Exactly. I feel special. I watch you all listen to your show. I actually watch it and listen to your show every day.
Thank you.
My question is I don't understand why there's no talk about transition tagging with Dak. So you can find out, everybody argues about what Dak's worth, this and that, whatever. Put him out there and say, guess what? Go find out what you're worth. You still have a right for first refusal, and if somebody takes him, you don't want to pay it, you get 2 number ones. I don't understand what I'm missing.
Well, you're right. Technically, you are right. We had a mailbag question about something similar on this too, about letting him go and see. But they want to sign him, and I think he wants to sign here too. So it's just like any relationship. I mean, what if you said, "Hey, go out and see if you can get somebody better. If you can get someone better, then let's see. Let me weigh my options." What if that was a real relationship? That's not going to go well, obviously. Not that I'm the one to give it advice, but I'm just saying, I think that's not going to hurt. That's going to hurt too many feelings on both sides if you start doing that. If he's the guy that you say he is, then go sign him. Don't do a transition tag to see if you can get a better deal.
Well, this is quibbling a little bit. It's you're actually talking about the non-exclusive franchise tag, because the transition tag doesn't offer you compensation if you lose the player.
Yeah,
but there's two franchise tags, exclusive and non-exclusive. So the non-exclusive would allow Dak to talk to whoever he wants. Somebody can make him an offer. You're right. Cowboys have the right of first refusal. If they don't feel like matching, they get 2 first-round picks. And I can see the logic, honestly. Like, I get why people feel that way. I guess my point is, if you do that, you're losing Dak, in my opinion. I mean, because there's somebody with more money who needs a quarterback. I mean, and that's going to happen, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think you lose him that way. And yes, 2 first-round picks that's nice, but is it enough to offset losing a franchise quarterback? Is that enough? And some people think so. I think not. I think the Cowboys probably think not, because what are those picks? Like, who's offering Dak? I mean, if it's the San Francisco 49ers, so you're going to get pick 12 and then their pick next year, is that good enough? I mean,
but if he's franchised, you're not going to get anything. Everybody agrees that if they franchise him, he's walking next year. You can't pay him.
100%.
Then you have nothing.
And I mean,
and the other complaint I got is every time the players do this, the players scream, "It's a business. It's a business. I got to take care of my family. It's a business." Well, if it's a business for one side, it's a business for the other side too.
Absolutely.
And you can't worry about hurting feelings. You got to run this business, and I think that's what's hurt the Cowboys. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm 54 years old, been a Cowboys fan my whole life, and it's just like, wow, the decisions they make sometimes. And I know that everybody. I don't want to pickle him, the guy, too bad, but all my brothers know there's a guy named Crawford out there, and he's got naked pictures of somebody. I don't know how in the world he's been on the field this long.
Oh, Tyrone.
Yeah.
Hey, look, here's the other thing I think you got to remember. We appreciate the call. We appreciate the call, but here's the other thing I think we got to remember here, and I want to say this is the situation that happened with Steve Hutchinson, where he was with, I want to say, Seattle, and then went. And he was a non-exclusive that went to visit Minnesota. And Minnesota basically put a contract out there, and I want to say the term they used was poison pill. But essentially what happens is the team says, okay, the money could be comparable. It could be something that the other team says, yeah, we'll match that. Here's the problem. The contract could say something like, you have to play 3 games, a total of at least 3 games in the state of Minnesota every year, right? There's no way Seattle can agree to that.
Yeah.
Minnesota can agree to that. And so what happens is, essentially, I think you have to, the evaluation you got to make here as to whether you do an exclusive versus a non-exclusive free agent tender is essentially, do you want the player? Because if you want the player, you better not do non-exclusive, because what happens if, let's play this out. What happens if Washington says to him, hey man, we'd like to have you, and we'll pay you a little bit more, maybe it's $1 more, but we're also going to put a poison pill in there that the Cowboys can't match. And if Dak wants to stick it to the Cowboys, which could be the case, I'm not saying he does, but if he looks at it like, hey, I'd take the same money to go play somewhere else because I just feel like this negotiation isn't going anywhere, then you leave it up to everybody else to make the decision whether you're going to get that player. The player, the other team, like, they can do things that basically say, you cannot match this. There's no way for you to match this. And essentially the player's gone. So if you don't want to lose the player, you got to do exclusive.
I thought they got rid of poison pills.
Did they?
They might have.
But how do you ensure that? Because there are certain things that there are ways to do it, right? That one is just a blatant one.
Yeah.
But there are other things you can do that makes it very tough for a team to be able to match.
There's other with all due respect, I don't necessarily care about that. The thing for me is. I think he makes a really interesting point. I don't know if the Cowboys are always as ruthless as they need to be because the star and the image of it. I mean, it's different here. You're playing on.
You don't think the Cowboys front office is as ruthless as it needs to be?
Not always.
Not always.
Travis
Frederick.
It's. Okay.
I'm just saying. No. I'm saying they could go get his money if they wanted to.
Oh, I see.
They're not doing that.
I don't even.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking about the money. I thought you were talking about just from the standpoint of players keep them or don't keep them.
Well, I think having. Obviously, you need great players to win, but having stars, it matters. Michael Irvin is Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith, that matters to this organization, and I there's value in that for whatever it's worth. But maybe they should have played hardball with Zeke. Maybe they should have said, "You're a running back, be here, or you don't get your money. We're not paying you 2 years ahead of time." And having said that, and people have said that since, and maybe it's fair. Maybe they could have said, "You sit out all year if you want to, but we're not paying you 2 years ahead of time to be a running back." Sorry. I don't know if quarterback is the spot to play that game. I don't know if the most important position in the game for a guy that's done everything right is the right spot. Not only because you need Dak to win, but also the message that it sends to the rest of your locker room.
And that's a big one, I think.
And then on top of we're purely in the realm of fantasy here, but if you want to play hardball and deal Dak, put the exclusive tag on him, and then you decide the price. Screw 2 first-round picks. You say, you're under the exclusive tag. If you want to go somewhere else, we will
find us a deal.
Find us a deal, and we'll get it done. But we're determining the price, not the league rules.
And we're determining where you go. So don't bring us Washington. We're not doing Washington, right? So you're right. You could still get the benefits of having an unexclusive while you have an exclusive, right?
There are ways, and like I said, the Cowboys should probably be a little bit better at playing hardball. Because with the last few of these deals, it's been a lot of talk, and then the player gets what he wants. Zeke did, DeMarcus did.
All right.
But my point being is, I don't know that Dak is the guy to play that game with.
We should be ending the show, but we got a call from Philip in France, so I think we kind of got to take this call.
I don't have anywhere to be.
All right, Philip, let's go. What you got?
Hi. It's good to talk to you again, I got just a simple thing to say. Since you're talking about linebackers, I do believe that the linebacker plays would have been better last season if we had something stronger and bigger in the middle of the D-line. I'd like to know what are your thoughts about it. Thanks for taking my call. Take care and be safe. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. That's a good call. It's a good question. Are we undervaluing the play of the linebackers because maybe they didn't have that consistent big body in the middle of the defense to keep people off of them?
Yeah, I've said it for years. Some of the best linebackers of all time have had those big guys up front, and it's going to be interesting to see with this new defense that we keep hearing about, or not new. They're going to go back to a scheme that we've seen here before, but I wonder what that means for the defensive tackles. Because I believe when Seattle had Brandon Mebane, I think he played with Dan Quinn. He's a big dude, so I think that they will have some beef up there. I think it's a good point. I'd like to see a little bit more guys that are focused on stopping the run and not these big body guys that can get up the field. That's nice, Gallimore, Tristan Hill, and all that. I do want a guy that's interested in just staying right here. I'm not getting pushed back. I'm not really pushing a lot forward. We're just going to hold the middle right here. That's the guy I want. So I think it would affect the linebackers for sure.
Yeah, I think it would help. I don't know if it would fix everything, but for sure it would help. They did sign Dontari Poe. Didn't work out, but maybe that means they're more willing to consider those types of things. I still don't think they would draft like a pure nose tackle super high. But
you can get those kind of guys later too, right?
Yeah.
The big body guy that's just going to be a 2-down player anyway.
I'll be interested to see what they do with that because I think there's a non-zero chance Gerald McCoy winds up back here.
I would like that.
Yeah,
50% maybe.
Yeah,
I think
there's a chance. And then Antoine Woods is easy to keep if you want to keep him. And then you got the 2 young draft picks, Hill and Gallimore. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do with that. I hope that they try to add some beef for sure.
Gallimore's not a little dude either, and I wonder how much an off season of him working out with these trainers, if that gets him to a point where he develops into that kind of body where you could put him in those situations a little bit more. I don't know. That's not really been what he was brought here to be.
Yeah.
He's more of a 3-technique guy, but I do wonder if you kind of bulk him up a little bit, could he do that?
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to do that because, I remember Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma said he's the quickest defensive lineman they've seen. He's not supposed to be moving that quick. And we saw him kind of dart into the backfield several times. I like that quick. I mean, he's big enough.
But then you got two guys doing that. Like, that's what Tristan is, right?
But that's okay because those guys can rotate.
Absolutely. I guess my only point, though, is if he's that quick and athletic, can you, and these trainers would know, can you bulk him up without losing that? How much can you bulk him up without losing that? And if you can get a guy that's bigger and only loses a little bit of the athleticism, but he still has a little bit of that, but he can also hold up at the point, now you might have yourself a really great asset that you can go at 1-technique or 3-technique, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know all that. I just think I wouldn't want to change what he is. He got a lot of pressures last year based off his snaps. I mean, he didn't get a lot of snaps, and his snaps or pressures to snaps ratio, if that's even a thing, is about as good as anybody in the league, especially for rookies.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
All right. Appreciate you guys joining us. We are back next Wednesday, normal time, 11:30. To next week, we're going to talk a little about free agency. Free agency will be starting the week after that. So we're going to walk through a lot of different questions around free agents, not only the Cowboys free agents, but also free agents around the league. And each of these guys are going to tell you a few of the guys that maybe they are looking at that they would like the Cowboys to consider, even though Dave says that we know they're not going to do it. But we'll at least have some fun with it.
Sure.
We'll see if there are some free agents. And also next week, we'll have some more phone calls. It was nice to hear from some of the fans. We'll keep that going. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!